Hi, I'm Maria from Nancy's Notions, and today I'm here to talk to you about batting. These are just a few of the options that are out there today, and I'm going to give you my reasons why I like them. The first is 100% poly. It is quite thin, but it's bonded on both sides, so as you stitch through, you should not get a lot of bearding. It's also a great one for beginners, and I would recommend it for wall hangings and table runners and smaller projects. The surface is bonded so that it does not pull and drag those polyester fibers through as you're stitching. This next one is a fusible fleece. It has glue on one side that when you heat it up, it fuses to your fabric, and it's a smooth poly on the other. I like this one when I'm doing table runners or projects that need an envelope finish. I fuse it right to the bottom of my top piece of fabric, quilt through it, and it works very, very well. You can put it underneath the top layer of your fabric for free motion quilting, and it helps hold those layers together. This acts as a buffer between your stitching and the bottom layer so that it doesn't shift around while you're quilting. It comes in really handy when you're learning a new skill. This batting is called No Shift. It is an 80% cotton and 20% poly. The poly is spun on the outside of the cotton, so when you layer this between two layers of fabric and heat it up, it forms a temporary bond between the batting and the fabric so that you hardly have to do any pinning. It's perfect for quilt as you go projects, for tote bags, for table runners, and smaller things like that. It is one of my favorites in the pile. This next one is 100% cotton. It is really popular for quilters who do a lot of vintage quilting. It's great for people who like that warm, comfortable, drapey look after you've laundered the quilt a few times. It has a little bit of nubs on it, but that's part of the natural cotton fiber, so it's not a mistake on the batting, but it is all natural. So if you've got friends or people that like all natural, this would be a great batting. It stitches through really well. You can see it's not very thick, and so it's easy to layer and pin and quilt. Because this is a 100% cotton, we can talk a little bit about how breathable this material is, especially for sleeping under. So for your bed quilts for kids especially, this would be one of my #1 choices. Polyester does not regulate body temperature as well as the natural fibers do, so that's something to keep in mind when you're choosing as well. Here is another 100% cotton, but it has been needle punched. See the grooves on the top there? And I think if I turn it over, you can see more of the needle holes back here. What that needle punching does is it sort of breaks up the fibers and softens those natural fibers so that when you go to hand quilt or machine quilt through it, the thread and the needle both flow much more naturally and smoothly. This is the clear winner for hand quilting. This last sample is 100% wool. It is the loftiest of the natural fibers, so if you don't like the poly for the loft and you want something natural, this would be my choice. Because of the lanolin in the wool, as you stitch through, it lubricates your needle and your thread, so you get a beautiful glide whether you're hand stitching or machine quilting, but it doesn't give you the polyester fibers in there, and you can see how beautiful and thick it is. It is the most costly, but it is also the most luxurious of the pile today. As far as care goes, the polyester is probably the easiest to take care of because you can basically throw it into the washer and dryer and have no trouble at all. The cotton battings need a little bit more care because you have to be aware of the shrinkage that can occur as you launder them. I like to launder them, toss them in the dryer for a little bit, and then hang them somewhere to dry. I get way less shrinkage and I have a smoother finish at the end. The wool batting, each one is a little bit different, so you've got to look at the labels and follow the label directions so that you get the best result from the care. And if all else fails, you can always get your quilts dry cleaned for the best results. Let's talk about loft for a little bit. Loft is basically the thickness of the batting that's inside your quilt. I have here the wool And I've got the Fusible fleece, and you can tell there's a huge difference in the height of it. The higher loft will allow you to do some really incredible stitching, and it'll show up as texture when you look at the front of the quilt. The lower loft, or this very thin one, will allow you to do a lot of little micro stitching that some quilters are doing today. You can get very close without creating a lot of puckers or wrinkles on the quilt. If you feel the difference is too drastic, then go with a medium loft batting. The best way to find the one you love is to try a bunch of different things. It's the only way you're going to know how it's going to look with your style of stitching. If you've ever heard of bearding, we have a great example here to show you. Here you can see some of the batting is coming through as you stitch. What happens often is that our needle might hit something, hit the edge of your plate, or maybe it hit a pin earlier on. It now has a little burr on it that's catching that batting and pushing and pulling it through the fabric, so you get this on the outside. That's not something that you want to see on your quilt, so take the time to change your needle. Keep a nice sharp one in there for when you're quilting to avoid this problem. Bearding can also happen when you're using a cheaper batting, so make sure that you know what quality of batting you're putting into that quilt so that you don't run into this problem. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you learned a little bit about batting today. If you like this video, please hit the like button, leave us a comment, and be sure to subscribe. Thank you so much.